laptop?
I bought it last year.
How does it not have a fucking video camera on it?
That's a really good question, honestly. It's like a gaming laptop, which I don't know why I bought that laptop. So yeah, I don't know. But
do you play a bunch of video games?
No, I don't. I was suggesting. I used to, but not so much anymore.
Okay.
And I just wanted something that would work fast. And I don't know. I didn't want to spend the money on like an Apple laptop or a Mac. So that's.
So you got what you paid for.
Yeah, I got what I paid for. So it's okay. Lesson learned.
All right. I was hoping that there was as good of a story as that was for that. It doesn't make a ton of sense. You don't have video on there.
Yeah, it's caused some problems already. So it's just actually another situation where it caused issues because I took the Prescript barbell course earlier this year, and I would sit in on the Zoom meetings for that without a camera, and I was like the only person out of like 35 people that was in the class but didn't have like a camera. So lesson learned.
Yeah. What'd you think of that?
I loved it.
Yeah.
It was it was definitely worth it. I've recommended it to a few people. Definitely got to see a different perspective on a lot of things that I thought I knew what I was talking about. But yeah, so that's why I did it though. Like that was one of my goals for this year was to kind of consistently be in some sort of like continuing education course geared towards coaching or business or anything like that. And it was definitely worth it. It was 6 weeks long. As you know,
course, yeah.
What?
It was like a regular college course. You guys met a couple times a week, and
yep. So there was the lecture on Thursdays, and then they had videos like modules that you're supposed to watch every single week, and then there was a live lecture over Zoom, and then on Saturdays they had like a lab where it was basically just like an hour long like Q&A where you can just ask any questions that you want to ask. So it was definitely really informative. I'm glad I took it. I'm gonna take the level 1 course. It's just a different course they offer. I'm gonna take that later this year. So yeah.
That's great. So I know you got the email, so just how we're going to kind of roll with things. The whole idea is basically to let everybody in as we're basically hoping that everyone feels like they're walking into a conversation that they may or may not belong in. So, and by doing that, we're always going to kind of start with some sort of a story. So we're looking for either a poop or a throw up story. Don't necessarily have to be yours. I know you got dogs to deal with as well. But any stories that you can, because we're 8 years old over here, and who doesn't have a great poop story?
Well, I have a really, really great poop story for me, but it's also like really, really sad at the same time. But it's also funny.
Like as long as you're okay with us laughing at your sadness.
Yeah, no, that's fine. It's a pretty sad story, but there's a lot of poop involved.
Well, let her rip, as they say.
Okay. You want me to share it right now?
Yeah.
Okay. So this actually happened.
You need any tissues or anything, or we're gonna be okay?
We're good. No, it's not that. So this actually happened after my first record breakers, where I came out there and I met you for the first time in 2016. I get back to Iowa with my girlfriend at the time, and we have 2 dogs, and it's been a while since I've seen my mom, and at this time I lived about 2.5 hours from my mom and dad's house. So she was like, hey, why don't you drive home for the weekend, see your mom and dad, take the dogs with you, because my mom had a German Shepherd as well. So I drove home for the weekend, took the dogs with me. And so I'm home for the weekend, and so I have 2 German Shepherds. I have an older one and a younger one, and so this is where it gets sad. My the morning that I'm supposed to drive back to Ames, which is where I lived, my mom comes in and wakes me up, and my mom's crying, and my mom almost never cries. And so she wakes me up. She tells me that because we lived on about 100 acres, just out in the middle of bumfuck nowhere.
Right.
So my mom would just, let the dogs out in the morning and just let them run free, because they would never go that far. So, but the bottom of our driveway, because we lived on top of a hill, was right next to the highway. So my mom comes in and wakes me up and says that the dogs ran down by the highway and our younger dog got hit by a semi truck.
Oh,
so yeah, so not what not what I want to hear. Obviously pretty devastating at the time. So so I get up, I go down to the highway in my truck, and I wrap her up in a blanket, I put her in the back of my truck, and then I almost immediately, I called my girlfriend at the time, who was obviously super devastated. So I basically almost immediately get ready to head back to Ames, because there's a big veterinary hospital there, and we were going to have her cremated. So I start driving back, and I don't know what the hell I ate when I was in California.
You're gonna blame this on California?
Yeah, or maybe it was when I was at home. But so I start driving back, and my stomach just starts not feeling the greatest, and I'm an hour away, and I'm no, I can hold it, I'm good. Because I have the dog in the back of the truck wrapped up in the blanket, and then I have my other dog in the back seat. So I'm just trying to get back to Ames as fast as possible. So I'm an hour away, my stomach's starting to hurt, I'm getting those deep knots in the bottom of my stomach. And I'm no, I can do this, I can keep driving, because there's not really a whole lot of options on that drive for stopping. So it's kind of you get an opportunity every 30 minutes, and there's nothing in between. So I'm an hour away, and I'm okay, no, I can do this, I'm fine. And then I get to 30 minutes away, and I have another chance to pull off, and I'm at the point where I can't sit still in my seat. So I pull off, I get off the highway, I drive down the road, and I stop in front of the gas station, and I jump out of my truck, and as soon as my feet touch the ground and I'm standing straight up, I just lost complete control. And it just literally have you seen what's the movie, is it Bridesmaids or whatever, where they go to the Brazilian restaurant, and it's the chicks it's pouring out of me like lava. Well, that was me. It was literally so I had to walk into the gas station with my pants full of shit.
Nice.
And so I go into the bathroom, and I just I go into the big stall, and I just I try to sit down again, and as I go to sit down, more comes out and gets all over the front of the toilet seat and and my pants. So I just decide to I just threw the underwear away.
Yeah.
And then I have my shorts, and I just said fuck it, I'm just gonna try to wash these and clean these as best as I can. And there's no lock on the bathroom door, because it's a multi-person bathroom. So I'm in nothing but a shirt.
Shirt cocking. That's called
yeah.
shirt. Super good luck, especially if you're in a gas station bathroom, to do that. Walking into that must have been a sight.
Well, luckily nobody walked in. So the story is not as good as it could have been. So yeah, I'm shirt cocking it, as you say.
There you go. And, you're going to use that so often now, Chris. You're so welcome.
I'm pretty happy about that. So thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wash my pants in the bathroom sink as best as I can, and then I unfortunately, I put them back on so I can go out to my truck and grab my clean clothes, which I would have done beforehand if I would have known that I was going to shit myself. But so go back out to my truck, grab clean underwear and shorts, and go back in and change, throw the pants away because they're useless.
Yes.
And then, yeah, I put my clothes on, went back on my way, and then, yeah, very eventful couple of days with everything going on.
Yeah. So the question is here, did you learn your lesson from that? Has this happened something again where you're like, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I take care of some business before I get on the road to go anywhere?
Yeah, I've no problem doing that now. That's for damn sure. And yeah,
you lost the pride just like you lost your underwear and the pants.
Yeah.
All right, but that was awesome. So I think we're gonna do a quick intro from Mark, and then we'll kind of get into chatting a little bit. That sound okay?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Awesome. Here we go.
All right, let's get this going. All right, here we go. Welcome to markbell.com and welcome to another exclusive edition of Super Friends. In this case, we have the deadlifter, the absolute amazing powerlifter, Chris Bridgeford. The reason why I say he's a deadlifter is because he's successfully deadlifted 881 pounds twice. But he also has a 2,100 pound plus total at 242 and a 2,200 pound plus total at the 275 weight class. Chris is a tremendous lifter. On top of being a great power lifter, he's also in tremendous shape. He's jacked, he's tan, he knows how to lift. You guys are gonna absolutely love what he has to say. So give it a chance, give it a shot, click on it. Strength is never weakness, weakness is never strength. Catch you guys later. Well, bam.
Hey, welcome, Chris.
I'm not tan.
Well,
I appreciate it though.
I'm glad we got that out of the way, like, you know, as soon as possible. You didn't, that's so odd. A kid from Iowa is not a tan boy. That's weird.
Yeah, you used to have a farmer's tan, not anymore though.
Not so much.
No.
Well, now you're in a place that the sun doesn't even exist, right?
It gets pretty sunny here. It's not, I mean, it definitely gets pretty rainy too, but it's not nearly as bad as people think it is. It's pretty nice out today. It's sunny out, so
yeah. Well, I mean, you know, it's not winter and raining for forever.
Yeah, thank God.
It's got to be comparable to like winters in Iowa. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what you're used to.
It doesn't snow nearly as much.
Yeah,
it rains more often than not, but yeah, it's not nearly as cold, which is nice.
Yeah. Well, that's good, bud. So how's everything going? How you feeling? Everything's good?
Yeah, pretty good. I'm healthy. I'm staying busy. I got no complaints. Things are definitely better than they were last year around this time. So I'm, training's pretty much normal again. Staying busy with the gym. Things are opening back up. We're getting more people in the gym, so I have no complaints. That's for sure.
Yeah. So let's try to talk about that. You just opened what, like 2.5, 3 years ago? Generation Strength?
We're coming up on 2 years. It'll be 2 years in May. We never really had an official opening, just because I tore my quad directly after, literally right after we got all the equipment. We weren't even officially opened yet. I was training with my business partner and a friend of mine who had just moved here, and then I snapped the quad, and then I didn't really have an official opening after that. Didn't really plan anything just because I was dealing with that, and then obviously going into the beginning of last year, the lockdown started. So yeah, we're going on 2 years.
How has that challenge been for you guys? And I mean, if anyone follows you and kind of looks online, I mean, you got a lot of people in the gym, you're coaching a lot of people. It looks like you have somehow successfully navigated not only blowing your quad at when you're supposed to open, but also the last year, which has just been a giant clusterfuck for anyone who's run a business. How have you, thrived and survived those two really, I mean, opening a business on itself is completely impossible, let alone some of those challenges. Yeah. So I want to kind of dig into those. So talk us through some of the some of the goods and some of the bads, and how did you make it through to kind of where you are today?
Yeah, that's
You're expanding too, right?
very,
You're doing
yeah,
really, really well. You actually have to get more gym space because you got it, because you have so many members. I think it's a very, very unique story where you hear so many people who are failing, closing gyms, et cetera. Here you are, you know, expanding and thriving.
yeah. I mean, there's not really like any one thing. There's several things. One, I will say that like I got really, really lucky with opening the gym. You know, I had a lot of money set aside, you know, in case of emergency, which is something I think that is like pretty overlooked. So I had a lot of money set aside in case of not necessarily like an international pandemic,
Right.
because nobody plans for that. But I had a lot of money set aside in case of,
So hold on.
some
So,
sort of.
was that a plan? Like before, you're like, hey, before I open this gym, I want to have X amount of money, or is that just you being frugal or cheap and just having that kind of set aside? Was this a plan in starting your business, opening the gym? Was like, look, I need X amount was saved before I can start this, because who the fuck knows?
Yeah, and every month I set aside money towards that. Like I make sure that it's a monthly thing. So
So that was in your
and
business plan.
yes, it was. And
Okay.
before I knew that, like before I went back in the direction of like wanting to open a gym again, like I was still doing that, not quite as like aggressively as I do now, but I was saving for something big
Right.
for a couple years before actually making the decision to go back in the route of opening a gym. So that was one of the things. Another thing too is like I got really, really lucky that like I have a client base before opening the gym. Like my income comes from coaching, not owning a gym. And you know, like when people say that like you don't make money off of a gym, like they mean it. Like you're not gonna make a lot of money from like gym memberships, because you know, chances are like if you're renting a facility, the rent for that facility is going to be a few $1,000s. So like depending on what you want to charge for memberships, you're going to need over 100 members just to break even. So like we have other stuff, like we have supplements, we have apparel, and then we also offer coaching on top of the gym membership. So luckily, like my income comes from coaching, and I got really lucky when the lockdown started that most of my clients were able to continue with me because they had some means of continuing to train, whether it was just a rack and a barbell in their garage, or they asked to continue and they just asked me like, hey, like I don't have a bar or anything. I've got dumbbells, I've got this, like I don't think this is going to last really long, so continue to write my training and just program me for what I have. So yeah, I had people that had to stop due to like financial reasons and just not having anything to train with, which was going to happen no matter what. But I talked with a couple other coaches that I'm friends with, and they're like, yeah, like I lost like half of my clients. And I was kind of just put things into perspective. Like I was freaking out about all of it, and like I think I had like 10 clients that had to pause their training. So I got really, really lucky in that regard, that I was able to for the most part maintain my normal stream of income. But having to close the gym for a while and like not let anybody into the gym was kind of weird. So that was a really difficult situation to navigate, because I can't even remember at this point how many times like the lockdown got extended, just specifically in our state. I know it's pretty consistent throughout the everywhere. So kind of got to the point where I was like, okay, like I'm just going to start letting people back into the gym. Like I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this anymore, which I know would probably like piss a lot of people off, but I was all about the lockdown. I was completely willing to follow that, but it just kind of it got extended again. So I was like, all right, I'm not going to let any new people in the gym, but the people that have already been here, I'm going to let them into the gym, because, we're not that big of a gym. I think right now, at the time we had like 50 members. and everybody knows everybody in the gym has been around everybody in there. So I let everybody that had already trained there come back in the gym, and it was only during staffed hours. Me and my business partner and his wife, who works for me, Jill, Brian and Jill, I should probably say their names, but like we would go through and we would clean down the gym a few times a day. We still do that. I don't do it so much. Jill's the one primarily doing it. But we'll go down, wipe down all the equipment, make sure everything's clean. We haven't had a single COVID case. We haven't had a single person get exposed. So like we've had no issues with it in the past. It's been a little over a year now since the first lockdown started. So that was really, really difficult to navigate, just not knowing, like, because other gyms in Washington were staying open and like it wasn't being enforced, but like it's still technically not supposed to be happening. So that was a really difficult choice to make, and like I made the choice.
What was the breaking point for that that decision? Was it like, okay, guys, this is the third time that you're changing your mind, or like, this is ridiculous, I'm literally losing members to the gym across the street? What was your final decision where you're like, this is ridiculous, these people need this stuff, we're opening back up?
I think the biggest thing for me was just like, honestly, just paying the rent for the gym. And like I'd be sitting there in the gym would be completely empty, like the lights would be off essentially because there's nobody in there, and I'd just be sitting there and I would get on my laptop to pay the gym rent, which is not cheap, as you would know. And I looked out into the gym, like there's nobody in here, like this is going to continue to happen, like I'm going to continue to be paying rent for a gym that isn't being used. So I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, other gyms are opening. There's no issues. So I'm just going to do it. And then at the beginning of this year, things started picking up again. And, another really, really big part, honestly, I'm not saying this, I don't know if anybody at the gym is going to watch this. The biggest part of the gym going from like where it was last year to where it is now was having my business partner Brian, his wife Jill, started to work for me. People make jokes and they like call her like my secretary. She's more like the day-to-day operations manager of the gym. I hired her to work for me, and basically what she does is she reminds me of everything that I need to do, and she handles, on top of that, like for coaching, like she tells me what programs I need to update, she tells me who I need to respond to. She basically took a very, very unorganized person and made him a lot more organized. And I still, by no means, I don't think that I'm organized at all, but I'm a lot more organized than I was a year ago. And she pretty much took over like all like planning and organization and like keeping track of like member information, all that stuff for the gym. Like she essentially runs the gym, and I'm able to completely focus on coaching. So if it wasn't for her, the gym would in no way be where it is right now. So speaking kind of business wise, right? I mean, I think that's to recognize that you're not good at kind of the day-to-day management stuff. No, not at all.
But that's that takes a very smart kind of in-tune person to know what they're good at and know what they're bad at. Was that kind of your plan? You're like, dude, I just need someone to help me deal with the shit that I'm terrible at and let me just kind of focus on the stuff that I'm good at. Was that your plan, or did this just kind of fall into your lap very happily?
That definitely more so kind of fell into my lap. I mean, the idea was presented to me because I'm really close. I'm obviously really, really close with Brian and Jill and everybody else at the gym, and it's not like it's not obvious if you're if you're spending time around somebody who, and you're running a business with them, it's going to become pretty apparent pretty quick if they're not organized and if they're forgetful, which I definitely can be. So we randomly sat down one morning, and she presented the idea to me. And I'm a very, very stubborn person, and I've always really enjoyed doing things alone. I don't like accepting help from people. I don't like asking for help from my parents. I don't tell people like when I'm stressed out or things like that. Like I like to handle things on my own. So I was really stubborn in the beginning. Like I knew that I was going to need to do it. But I kind of just like denied it for a little while in my head. And then, so then we actually started, like we wrote up like a job contract thing, and like we actually started, and it made a night and day difference, like right off the bat. Like all the responsibilities that she took over at the gym, I was immediately able to like put that time and effort into coaching, which is what I should be focusing on, because that's how I make my income. So because last year around this time and closer to summer, when the gym was getting busier, I was definitely getting like stretched really thin, trying to juggle both, and honestly not doing I was doing a very half-assed job at both. So I think like being able to recognize like what you're really bad at and asking for help in those areas, I don't think that's a bad thing at all, which is what I did there. And I'm pretty happy with that decision. So
I think that's, business speaking, I think that's something really important. And I think that's a lesson that you very luckily actually learned and pretty early on. So good for you. Let's talk about real quick, how you talked about all the challenges and everything. And plus, you have this, angel who comes in and helps you out with everything.
Yeah.
How has your approach to coaching changed, factoring in the whole COVID thing, and then also now having so much more time dedicated to just coaching opposed to trying to deal with some of the other stuff that you're just flat not good at?
Yeah.
I mean, changed in general, or, how have you kind of progressed? Because, I met you and you're just a lifter, and, I was actually helping coach you. And then you really started to dive into the coaching side of things, and it has really taken off. You're just very good at what you do. What has got you there? And then, talk about the changes and challenges that you've had through the COVID stuff, through your own injury, and also, actually being able to dedicate the time to just primarily and completely focused on coaching.
That's, first of all, thank you. That's a great question. It's been a number of things, kind of, like with the gym. In part, it was, I think the biggest part of it is that I don't think that I'm a good coach, because I've been really lucky to be around a lot of great coaches. You, Tony Montgomery, Trevor Jaffe. I've gotten to be around a lot of people that are really good at what they do. And you guys have all, since I've been just a lifter, even coming into a coach, you guys have always been willing to just share as much information as like I'm willing to ask of you. And that's really been the biggest thing that's allowed me to become a better coach outside of like my own, like taking these courses and doing, my own education or whatever. Being able to have access to you guys and being able to pick your guys' brains, talk to you about training, getting to actually train with you guys, has been the biggest thing for coaching. But honestly, kind of a second part to that would be tearing my quad, because I'd say before that, the amount of effort I put into coaching compared to the amount of effort I put in my coaching now does not compare. Learning how to be more responsive, getting back to clients on time, getting them the information and the feedback that they need, adjusting their training properly, tearing my quad and having nothing else to focus on. I basically I don't want to say like I used coaching as like a coping mechanism, to like not being able to train, but like I essentially did. I didn't have anything else to do, and I just kind of like was sitting around all day watching people in the gym train, having clients, text me and respond, asking for feedback, things like that. So it's like, okay, like it was kind of like a oh shit moment where I was like, okay, like I have an opportunity here to be like a lot better at my job. Because like, speaking like very transparently, is like at that time it was like, okay, yeah, I could be a lot better at my job. Like I need to respond to people faster. Like I need to get these people their programs on time. So at that point, I kind of just dove head into like, I completely, like became completely obsessed with like becoming a better coach. And like, essentially from post-surgery till now, like that's essentially been what it is. I've always I've always been focused on my training, but having something that is much more important to me than my own training has allowed me to enjoy my training more. So like the amount of like mental like commitment I have, or the amount of energy that I spend on like thinking about my own training, is like very, very little compared to what it used to be. So, and that's because coaching is way more important. Like I love lifting, I love competing, but it's a hobby, and that's all it ever will be. And like my goals are still my goals for that, which I fully intend on putting everything I have into achieving those goals. But I don't really want to just be remembered as a lifter. I want to be remembered as a coach who was able to, help other people reach their goals. So if I had to pick between one or the other, I would definitely pick being a coach. So, yeah, there's,
as gifted of an athlete and a lifter as you are, I think that's fantastic. And that's one of the things I have written down here is, I wanted to explore that journey from athlete to coach, now back to being an athlete. Besides, the time that you're putting into like what you're thinking about for your training, what else has, trying to really dive in and becoming a coach has taught you personally about the lifter and the athlete that you feel you need to be? Because at this point, I think you're actually so much more complete of a lifter now. And, with the injury and diving into coaching and everything, and I think, diet's going to play a big part in your answer, I assume. But what are the things that you're doing now that you wish you could have told yourself to do kind of, before your injury?
Oh yeah, definitely diet is top of the list. Coming from wrestling, I was pretty scared to like let myself gain weight for a long time. I was super back and forth on 275, 242. Actually, like the first meet where I met you, Record Breakers, was 275, and then I did my first US Open at 275, and then I decided to cut back down to 242, which I was able to do. I was able to put together another decent meet at 242, and then became pretty obvious after that the weight cut was a little bit too much. I competed in another US Open at 242, and then I tried to compete at I can't remember what's the name of it, the Pioneer meet. The Tribute meet. I tried to compete at the Tribute meet at 242, and that was my last meet at 242, because that was like the second meet in a row where I cut a lot of weight, and I went like either 3 for 9 or 4 for 9. I did about as bad as you could do without bombing out. And I was like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. So my first meet back to 275, where I didn't cut weight, was Record Breakers, where I hit the 2200. So that having that meet pretty much sealed my fate on staying at 275. So diet has been the biggest part of that. Right now I'm actually trying to for the first time in my life get my weight above 280, and it's the most difficult thing to do in the world for me. I'm trying so hard. It's really, really difficult. I hate eating that much. So I bought a blender, and I just started adding shakes into my diet during the day, 2 or 3 times a day, because I just get to the point where I'm taking a bite of food, and then I'm taking a drink of water to try to just get it down.
Choke it down. Yeah.
So diet's been the biggest thing.
For someone who's
just
come from a background with wrestling of having to really manage their weight, would there ever been a point in your life where you would have thought, like, man, I fucking hate eating. I'm gonna hate trying to gain weight? Because it's one of those things where when you really have to, and you're not necessarily an easy gainer, people don't quite understand what it's like to force feed yourself to try and gain weight. It is, and I don't know about you, but I would much rather lose weight than try and force feed myself to gain weight.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's really easy for me to not eat. Like the first thing I do in the morning is like I have a cup of coffee, and once I do that, like I sit down, have my coffee, start working on my computer. I can go hours without even realizing that I haven't eaten anything yet. So, and I just think that's like what I'm used to doing, because not only did I do it for essentially 12 years with wrestling, I continued to do it for 3 or 4 more years once I got into powerlifting. So I've spent majority of my athletic career dieting in some way or another. So kind of trying to reverse that and forget about 15 years of habits that I have built up is going to be a little bit difficult. So, which is why I just liquefy my calories and just drink them now. So
when you're saying you're making shakes, are you doing like protein shakes, or are you going like the Blaine Sumner chicken and fucking tuna shakes?
I've definitely done like the Blaine Sumner shakes. I haven't done that for a while. I used to do that. I haven't like crossed that. I haven't gone that far again yet. So like right now, like in the morning, I'll do like a bunch of Greek yogurt, fruit. I'll add like avocado oil to it for like fats, and then just ice and orange juice. And that's like an easy extra like 1,200 calories, I think, when I calculate it. And then I'll do like another one later in the day with like peanut butter, oatmeal, Greek yogurt, protein powder, some other stuff. And that one's about like 1,800 calories. So I'll just do those two during the day, because it'll get me an extra like 3,000 calories, because the calories I get from food, like realistically, like it's difficult for me to eat 3,000 calories in real food. So if I could do that plus the 2 shakes, I'm at 6,000 calories for the day, which is what I need to be hitting.
Right.
So that's where I'm at right now. So I'm not quite to the chicken shakes yet. I have done that before. And it is really, really gross. It's it is really, really gross, but I have done it just because it's easy.
Yeah.
And it's a lot easier than taking 30 minutes to sit down and try to choke down a bunch of food. So
true. All right, back to what you would tell yourself, starting off.
Yeah, so diet, I'd say the next biggest thing would just be moving around more. When I was wrestling, when I was transitioning to powerlifting, I loved doing like conditioning work. I loved, like dragging a sled, or like, picking up, like doing like farmer carries, or, doing like circuits with like a sandbag, or, battling ropes, just any of that sort of stuff. And I really, really loved doing that stuff, not just because it made me feel better physically, but also for like my mental state of mind. Like it was really, doing that sort of like training was like really, really good for like anxiety, and just like kind of like, if I was in like kind of like a foggy, mental funk, just going in and like just getting a sweat going, was always helpful for that. So yeah, that was the next biggest thing, was like reincorporating that kind of stuff into my training. Because like, I know that like I'm a lazy power lifter, but doing like an air squat shouldn't hurt my knees.
Right.
Or like doing a burpee, should not be like a daunting task for me. So that was kind of like, a wake up call, where it's like, damn, like, if you asked me to like do like walking lunges down this turf, I would be in pain the entire time, because my body is so stiff. So day to day, I try to get 10,000 steps in a day. That has probably been the biggest thing, is just 10,000 steps a day, no questions asked. Night and day difference for my recovery versus like if I had a rest day.
Are you doing that like with 10-minute walks? Or are you how are you accomplishing that? Or just being up and moving?
Yeah, I'm up and moving. I really don't get that many steps in a day at the gym. even though you think that I might, because I still do spend a lot of time sitting at the gym, like on my phone or on my laptop, because I spend a good chunk of the day like responding to clients, or I'm on my laptop or whatever. So I walk in the morning because I have 2 dogs. I have 2 Malamutes that are pretty hyper. So I'll take them out in the morning for a walk, and then try to take them for a couple walks during the day. So basically, like, 10-minute walks. And then I try to do like a 20 to 30-minute walk at the end of the day before I go to bed. Like that, I try to make that the last thing that I do at the end of the day before, like, I'll go walk for 30 minutes. I'll come in and I'll immediately go to bed. So it's the last thing I do in the day.
Nice. Anything else you wish you could have got yourself going and doing earlier on?
You know, kind of going along with like the moving more is just like paying more attention to like doing like the rehab work and correctives, things like that. You know, this is something that, you know, I'm sure you harp on with your clients just as much. As when you say to do it every day, you mean to do it every day. I don't say, hey, do this every day, and then they do it like once or twice for a week and then they stop doing it. So like when you should do something every day, like that means do it every day. So like I try to do some sort of like, you know, whether it's for my hips or my shoulders, because my shoulder, you know, is pretty jacked up. Yeah, like that bar tilt that I have when I squat is still there a little bit. So so paying more attention to that. And then next biggest thing is like, you know, not ego lifting. You know, I've lost a lot of my desire to like hit like heavy singles or like do something heavy and crazy in the gym, just because like I know that it is not going to be a reflection of what I'm able to do on the platform. So I've kind of, you know, I've come to the conclusion that like doing that is pretty much pointless unless I'm, you know, I'm close to a meet or I'm, you know, in a meet on competition day. So I've really like shifted my focus on training itself. Like I don't really look forward to training heavy that much anymore. I still really enjoy it, but there needs to be like a purpose behind it. So being a lot more conservative with my training and just doing like what I should be doing instead of, you know, lifting for the gram, as they say. So yeah, those have been 3 biggest things for me, you know, being conservative with training, moving more, prioritizing, you know, just being able to move better without weight on my back or anything like that. And then my diet for sure.
How about the hook grip? Because I know that you had battled, you know, yes, no, and trying to figure all that. Can you talk about, you know, how did you kind of come to and start to use the hook grip, and, you know, what was the decision process with all of that? Because that was probably a couple year back and forth, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and that was, you know, I'm really in between on if like I was, you know, silly for like being back and forth. Like, you know, while I was working with Jaffe, he had no issues with me like training both, like in the off season if I was far away from a meet. But like as we got closer to competitions, he's like, okay, like you need to pick one. Like you can't go back and forth. Honestly, Kaylor Woolham kind of talked me into it back in like 2016, 2017, when he was starting to hit those big deadlifts. Me and him would talk back and forth on Instagram quite a bit. So like I decided to give it a try, and it worked great for a while. Like I had no issues with it. And then after, I can't remember what meet it was, but after a meet where I pulled hook grip I actually pulled hook grip for the first time in a meet, I started having a lot of issues with it in training. And it was my left hand specifically. I just could not get the bar to stay in my left hand. I had no issues with my right hand. And as soon as I got above 800, like the bar would start to slip out of my left hand right at the top. So then I made the choice to switch back to mixed grip for a while, just because my pull honestly looked better with mixed grip versus hook grip. I know a lot of people switch to hook grip because, you know, you're able to create a better starting position. You're able to get more upright. And that's typically, you know, one of the reasons why people switch is because, you know, it looks better generally versus a mixed grip. And when I switched back to mixed grip, I was actually able to be more upright. I was actually able to hold position better off the floor with a mixed grip. So I trained mixed grip for a while, and just building up my grip strength with mixed grip was a priority for a while too. And it was still kind of like hit or miss. Whereas like, you know, one day I felt like I could hold on to 900 pounds. Another day, I don't know what it was. It was just fatigue. But like as soon as I got over 800, like I was holding on for dear life. So, but as of right now, because after the meet I did in December where I pulled mixed grip and I had the same issue happen, like I pulled my opener pretty easily. I was able to hold on to it. Went 881 for my second attempt, and I pulled it off the floor fine. I get the bar to my knees, and the bar starts slipping out of my left hand. So, so after that meet, I went back into the gym, and I decided to do some hook grip pulls. And I'd been talking with Jaffe quite a bit about like how I would set my grip, and I changed some things on setting up my hook grip, and I was able to, I think that day, like I pulled like 832 or something. And then on New Year's Eve, I deadlifted again, and I was able to pull, I was actually able to finally pull 904 with hook grip. I was able to hold it at the top. I was able to do it without straps. I was able to hold it. It was like the most legitimate looking 900 that I've done, because I've kind of pulled 900 in the gym before, but it was a super soft lockout. Very, very borderline, like definitely would not have counted in competition. I was able to hold on to it, but the lockout was just not clean at all. And then the other times I've done it in the gym has always been with straps. So this is like the first time I pulled 900 and I was actually like what I would consider like legitimate. Mm-hmm. So I'm definitely going to be sticking with hook grip going forward, unless, you know, something stupid happens again and like my thumb stopped working or whatever it might be. I still hate it. It still hurts. You know, I don't know who's
something that people don't always admit about hook grip. You know, it's just like, this is like, even Jeremy just had a cuticle like infection, so his thumb was like 3 times the normal size from pulling the other day. It was awful. And like people were like, oh, I thought hook grip was like, you know, just like straps, you don't feel anything. I'm like, I don't know who is lying to people. Hook grip is like and early on, you know, I got some advice. I was like, hey, how can I perfect hook grip? And there's like, you know what you need to do? You need to put your thumb on a table, go get a hammer and just hit your thumb until it doesn't hit anymore. You need to kill that nerve so you can go ahead and just go that way. I'm like, you know what? Never mind. That's all good. I'll figure out the way otherwise.
Yeah, that was something I strayed away from, because like I was told by a few people, like you need to do like heavy rack pulls and like hold like as much weight as you can for as long as you can. And I tried that, and honestly all it did was it would tear my thumbs open.
Right.
Because I had no callus built up, and it kept hurting. It definitely never stopped hurting. Like I tried for months. So honestly, what helped was doing a lot of rep work with like, you know, around like speed work range, 60 to 65%. And I would just do a lot of sets with higher reps, sets of like 4 to 5, just kind of drilling, setting my thumb into the bar, actually, performing the movement. And with that, like the weight was light enough that it wouldn't like tear my thumbs, but I was able to build up a callus and kind of harden my thumbs a little bit. It didn't stop hurting, but I was able to build up a callus and feel more comfortable with using hook grip that way. So yeah, the whole like kill your nerve ending thing, I don't think that actually, I think that's some sort of myth that was started a while ago.
So. The Gillingham brothers, I don't know if they had any backing.
Yeah.
Nor do I know if they actually did it. They had huge fucking mitts anyway, so they didn't need it. So let's move on real quick to kind of our meathead questions here. Going from athlete to coach and kind of back to athlete at this point, what can you give me 3 things, your 3 go-to things as far as like movements go for you? I need 3 things that you love to program and give to people, do for yourself. And then I just want 3 things that drive you absolutely fucking bonkers about the sport, the industry, and everything else. So 3 goods
Okay.
and 3 movements and goods, and 3 just things that makes you want to pull the rest of your hair out.
Okay. So three go-tos for me. I would have to say would be high bar squatting. I'm really, really big on having people high bar squat far out from a meet. It's my favorite squat variation to give people, just because I think it has the best carryover to a low bar competition squat than other other variations or specialty bars that we see. I really, really like giving it to bigger guys that tend to have shoulder issues with low bar squatting. So I'll have a lot of my like 220 competitors and up. Majority of their training is high bar squatting, and I've even had some people, like when they get closer to a meet, I'll have them high bar squat like with a light wrap before we like get into like that final like competition prep where we switch to low bar squats, and they might be using wraps. So I'm a really big fan of high bar squatting. To me, I think it has like, I don't ever speak in absolutes, like what's the best squat variation you can do, because it's pretty individual. But I think more often than not, I think a high bar squat is a really good go-to variation for people. A lot of demand on the quads and the upper back, which is pretty important for raw lifting. We see a lot of people where they lose in their squat is they generally they don't have strong enough quads, and they lose the squat in their upper back. So outside of different lift, deadlift, I'm really, really big on, and I've gotten into, you could consider this one of my pet peeves as well, but I have pretty much all of my sumo pullers pull conventional at some point in time. I think if you're a sumo deadlifter and you can't pull conventional, like you're just doing yourself a disservice. Like you're missing out on like potential strength. Like and you look at pretty much all of the big deadlifters they can pull something pretty heavy with both stances. Like I know there's going to be exceptions to that rule, but like Kaler, for example, he's pulled 900 both stances. Chris Duffin, another example, he's pulled really heavy with both stances. Even Yuri, like I think he posted a video a while back of him doing reps with 771 conventional without a belt, which you don't really see very many. He's a sumo deadlifter. You don't see very many people, especially at his weight, doing rep work with high 700 pounds without a belt. So, and that's caused a good number of arguments between me and like newer clients. Is like I'll send them their training, and they'll see like conventional, some sort of conventional variation in their programming, and they're like, and the first thing they'll say is like, hey, like I saw you wrote conventional in my programming, that I pull sumo, right? Like, yeah, like I know, but that's what I wrote in. I wrote it in on purpose, don't worry. So
when you give that to people, I'm a huge fan of that as well. Are you looking for some sort of a percentage between the two? Like, hey, you should be able to pull 70-80% conventional of the top that you can sumo, and then you kind of start backing that off? Or is it just something like, it's just like, hey dude, you need to do this, it's regardless? Or do you try and build it up, get to a certain point, and then you kind of sprinkle it in a little bit less?
It's pretty individual. I hate to like give like the it depends answer.
Well, that's the right answer almost all the time though.
Yeah. So it depends on the person. I think like best case scenario, if you're a sumo deadlifter or a conventional deadlifter, I think that, it's going to apply more to sumo pullers than conventional pullers, because not a lot of conventional pullers do pull sumo, and there's definitely less carryover for sumo to conventional than the other way around. But I think if you're a sumo puller, I think best case scenario, you should be able to pull 90% of whatever you can pull sumo with a conventional stance. So if I have somebody that starts with me and they say like, yeah, I train conventional pretty consistently, like it's, around, I obviously take like their, if they have some sort of 1 rep max with conventional and sumo, but they prefer to pull sumo, that makes it a lot easier to program percentages. So if I have a sumo puller that's literally like never pulled conventional in their life, It's going to be pretty conservative at the start, and I might even program like an RPE or like a weight range with like a given RPE. So I'll give them like, okay, like your weight range for today is, 315 to 365. You have an RPE cap of 7. So your last working set, you should have 3 reps in the tank. So I'll do that if I have somebody that has like no experience pulling conventional. And then, we'll kind of go from there. And then if we can get to the point where we can like accurately, like have an accurate working max of some kind, then I'll start programming with percentage. But if they, if the biggest priority is for them to just like learn the skill of performing that movement, then it's going to be pretty conservative. There's not going to be, a lot of workload, kind of relating to, your training style a little bit. I'll just give them basically like speed work. I'll just give them a lot of singles. I'll give them like 15 to 20 singles, or 10 sets of 2, or 8 sets of 2, or whatever, where it's just really, really lightweight. We might do the sets like every minute on the minute, or just a short rest time. The weight's not heavy enough that it's going to be like, there's not going to be any form breakdown. They can literally just focus on making the reps look as perfect as possible, build the confidence, become familiar with the movement, and then ideally 2 or 3 training cycles later, we can actually like work with some real weight that's going to create, that's going to allow for some like potential strength to be gained, which is going to have carryover to their actual like competition stance.
Awesome. What's the third?
Third go-to, I was going to try to make one for every lift, but I would have to say, honestly, like core work is really big. I have my clients do some sort of oblique or anti-rotational or direct ab work at least 3 times a week. That's that's been a really overlooked one for me in the past. Like I've been really, really bad about not doing those things, because you get to the end of the training session, it's like, okay, like I don't want to get down on the ground and do side planks for 5 minutes. Like I want to go home. So, right. So yeah, those, I would have to say that if I was going to say something for bench press, but I would have, if I'm just thinking of like things that I harp on more often, it would definitely be core work of some kind, whether it's, we're doing, anti-rotational stuff or side planks. Copenhagen planks is a big one that I program a lot. Even if I don't have people that pull sumo, I program Copenhagen planks, just because the adductors are really, really overlooked, I think. And I don't think people realize how much of a role the adductors play in the squat. So, training those directly in some way or another is going to be pretty important. So I'll program those for people, whether they pull sumo or not.
So I have a question about, you and a couple of your lifters, usually have some sort of epic facial hair prep heading into a meet.
Oh yeah.
That you give to everybody, kind of like from, like this always reminds me of kind of the hockey playoff beard type of thing. Is this something that you always know and you plan going forward, or is this more of a spur of the moment thing?
It definitely happens pretty consistently, but it's a spur of the moment type thing. Like you can't force it. You just kind of have to, when you know.
Yeah.
So
what's your favorite variation what's your go-to facial hair variation during your meet prep?
I mean, my best meet has been with the handlebars, so I'm gonna have to go back to that in the future. And
that's the right answer.
Since doing that, because I did that for Record Breakers in 2018.
Yep.
The meets that I've done past that, where I didn't use the handlebars, I did really poorly. So, do you hear me there? I think I cut out for a second.
You're all good.
So in the meets I did after that, I didn't do that well. So it's pretty obvious that it's going to need to be a tradition going forward. So it's been picked up by a few other lifters. Everybody's welcome to do it. Like if you have the means to do it, then you just kind of have to let it happen naturally. Like if you just if you wake up and you know, all right, it's a handlebar meet prep, then go for it, but you can't force it.
All right. Give me 3 things that drive you fucking crazy about, you know, whether it's powerlifting, you know, fit chicks, Instagram, you know, let her rip, dude. 3.
I'm pretty jaded towards people just like posting their personal opinions online in general. You know, I type out rants like all the time that I want to post that might be like indirectly, like, you know, they're targeted at somebody maybe indirectly or very, very directly. And then I never post them. You know, I might send them to like, you know, one of my training partners or something, just so I can like kind of like get it out in the air. My mom actually calls that car talk, where
Okay.
like me and my mom will be driving somewhere and she'll be like, Christopher, like I need to have car talk for a minute. And basically car talk means that my mom wants to talk shit about somebody and I'm not supposed to say anything to anybody about it ever. So so like I have a group chat with like a couple with my with Rance and Brian, my 2 business partners, and like a couple of our training partners. So I'll just be like, hey guys, I need to have car talk for a minute. And then I'll vent about whatever it is. But
So I have a question about that. Let's stop. At what age did your mom start having car talk with you? And was there like is there a memory where you're like, dude, mom is fucking nuts, or mom really hates grandma, or something along those lines? Do you have a specific memory where, you know, car talk is just burnt into your skull?
I want to say it was like early high school, because my dad, when I was in middle school and going through high school, my dad actually worked down in New Orleans. So he traveled quite a bit. And so I was spending a lot of time with my mom. You know, I'd still see my dad. He would come. Basically, what he would do is he would fly down to New Orleans for about 2 weeks at a time, and then he would come home for, you know, maybe a few days, maybe a week. If I was like in like football season or wrestling season, he would try to stick around a little bit longer and make it to like one of my meets or one of my games. But my dad traveled a lot, so I was spending a lot of time with my mom. And that's about early high school is when I remember that it started to happen, when I'm kind of old enough to like understand things and like, you know, understand like what she's angry about and like being able to like have a real opinion on it. So now we do it over FaceTime because I live, you know, they live in Colorado right now. So I'm a little too far away. So she'll FaceTime me and, you know, we'll have coffee over the phone or something, and she'll still do it. So, and I mean, I'll do it too. You know, that's what's nice about being an adult now, is I can tell my mom that I need to have car talk now and I need to vent about whatever I got going on. So
What are your car talk? What are those? Is it just at people who are overly posting their personal opinions about things, or is it anything?
I mean,
in particular? Is it just one, or
maybe
there's
not
3 in this?
Yeah, so maybe not so much personal opinions, but just people speaking in absolutes.
Okay.
You know, like I just said this earlier, where I was like, it depends. Like, it depends on the situation. Like, and that could be a cop out, but it is really true because, you know, things are pretty highly individual. But when I see really like flashy posts where people are like, if you're not doing this, you're doing it wrong. And like I really, really dislike seeing that stuff because it might be informative, but it's just to grab attention. Like, I understand people have to play the Instagram game. You know, they want to drive traffic to their page, but when it's like really like when you're speaking in something like, if you don't do this with your knees in the squat, then you're squatting wrong. And if you squat this way, you're an idiot. Like I was discussing this with a couple people like 2 weeks ago. Somebody put up a post saying that like the cue screwing your feet into the ground is a stupid cue, and you need to use this cue. Well, it's like, okay, like context is everything when we're talking about cueing for a squat. Like screwing your feet into the ground could be a really, really bad cue if somebody is doing that excessively and they're not actually maintaining any good rooting in their feet in the squat. But maybe telling somebody screw your feet into the ground, you know, they're able to do it correctly and they're able to, you know, actually engage their glutes and, you know, create better stability in their squat, then it's a really, really good cue. So like there's no absolutes. And also saying that another cue is stupid and that your cue is a better cue for the squat is like, you're literally like, you want people to listen to you, but you're also like, you're calling another cue stupid and pointless. So that stuff's really irritating. So I generally just like, I avoid those things. Like those are things that like I really want to comment on. And like I don't have the time, like the energy that like I could be putting into like getting in like a commenting, not even like an angry conversation, but like just a discussion with like an opposing viewpoint. Like the time I spend doing that, I could just be spending taking that information and giving it to a client who actually pays for that time. So it's more so like just also like priorities. As much as I, if I see something that I want to comment on and like get into it with somebody, I could just take that time and do something more productive with it. So, but so there's one. Other pet peeves about powerlifting, I would have to say this like the squat depth thing is pretty frustrating. That still kind of goes on pretty consistently. I want, and I'm sure you could probably relate to this too. We've talked about this quite a bit in the past, but like just I fully expect that like a standard should be like, there should be a standard. Everybody should compete to the same standard, no matter what federation they're in, whatever. But just like the way people go about it on the internet, I had, good example is this, a couple of months ago, Trevor Jaffe, a client of his, Philip Herndon, squatted 950 in a meet, and which was like a new all-time world record for 242. And it was very, very questionable. Like it was high. Like, Philip and Trevor have both said like, yeah, it was a high squat, it shouldn't have counted. But people were messaging Trevor as if he was responsible for the squat being high.
Right.
It's like, okay, like I've had the same issues in the past where it's like, I can tell a lifter to hit depth all I want. I can give them the appropriate tools to make them hit depth in a squat, but if they continue to squat high, then it's on them. But like people were messaging Trevor, like calling, like just saying nasty shit to him, commenting on his post, like both of them. So it's like, I understand, like, if you want people to be held to a higher standard, then that's fine. And that's how it should be. But like commenting on somebody's post and calling them a piece of shit because they don't hit depth is not going to solve anything.
Well,
but again, like
that's totally going to solve all the problems in the world.
Yeah, but like I know it's the internet. Like you're not gonna stop that. That's how people behave on the internet. So it's just that's how it is, unfortunately. Yeah. So, but that's why I like, if it wasn't for my training, and if it wasn't for the gym and for coaching, like I honestly, like I probably wouldn't have an Instagram, just because of seeing that shit like on a day-to-day basis is pretty annoying. So yeah, like if you want things to change, maybe just like be a little bit more mature about stating your opinion on the internet.
Good luck.
One
more. Fire away.
Okay, this is more directly related to the gym. And I'm sure you can definitely relate to this, is picking up after people. Like I've picked up so many like opened energy drinks that have like one drink taken out of them, wrappers, things like that. I told a buddy of mine, I told him, I'm going to start taking the energy drinks that you leave here, the ones that you take one drink out of, and I'm going to start pouring them into like a big jug. And I'm going to make you drink that big jug that is just all of your old energy drinks that you leave here. So
that's a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another big one, just because I can't think of any other ones off the top of my head directly with like the powerlifting industry itself. But yeah, as far as like a gym owner, just managing to a certain extent like a bunch of people under one roof is pretty difficult. So,
and then having to pick up after them is just,
yes, and then having to pick up after them, and like seeing stuff in like really odd places, like we have signs all over the gym, thanks to Jill, because I never was going to do that on my own. I was never going to put up like a bar legend. I was never going to put up like where certain things go,
Right.
just because, yeah, I just didn't want to do that. So we have we have bar legends all over the place. Like in literally every wall of the gym, there's a bar legend telling you how much the bars weigh, what the tape means on the bar, and all of that. And like still people will like try to squat with a deadlift bar.
Yep.
Or like they'll try to do rack pulls with a deadlift bar, because like we have beater bars with yellow tape on them that say use these bars for rack pulls.
Yeah.
So that's just everything that comes under like, just things that you don't consider. I used to see it like outside looking in, like as a gym member, like people doing things they shouldn't, like with like inside of a gym, but you don't really like know like what that entails until it's like your own facility.
Yeah.
And you have to deal with it yourself. So, but overall, like I love owning a gym, so it makes me pretty happy. But I don't like cleaning up after people.
I don't blame you at all. So, hey man, we're going to transition to some questions from the audience, and I'll have Andrew ask you those, and if you can answer those, that would be awesome. And we'll kind of start closing things up. Really appreciate your time. Thank you for everything so far, man.
Yeah, I had a great time.
Yeah, awesome, dude. Thank you so much. And then one thing, like a common theme when we do these things is we come up with some pretty good ideas just based on the conversations that we're having. Like just again, new ideas, business plans are full on brand new businesses. And one thing I'm surprised Jesse didn't mention it, but I think you need a podcast, and it just needs to be called Car Talk.
Dude, that
would be sick. And like first thought is like, okay, yeah, we'll get Chris with some other power lifters that just vent. But I think even more powerful than that is like literally recording the conversations with your mom. Like that would be sick.
Oh yeah.
that
would be great.
Yeah. But anyway, that was on my mind.
Or maybe you can even like collect a bunch of people's like car talks.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
that's
we're going to
great idea.
And just pick like 10 people's, 5-minute conversations just bitching about whatever.
Yeah.
And just have a weekly theme, and just let people fire. That's super smart. I actually love that.
Yeah.
That's so good. I want to be one of the first guests.
All right. Yeah. You can be for sure. I love that. My business partner, Brian, actually like really, really wants to start a podcast, because he loves talking. Like he's a very, very like, he's an intellectual person. Like if you talk to him about something that like he may not know a lot about, like he'll go and actually read about that and like learn about it, and then he'll come back and have a real conversation with you about it. So yeah, I'm definitely going to talk to him about that. That's an amazing idea.
We're all in. We're all your first guests. Let's fucking roll.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right.
Good.
Sounds good
All
to
right.
me.
Cool. So Philip, and then to a certain extent, our buddy Rob asked similar questions, but they ask how many times a week or even a month should one deadlift? And then they both ask what are the best accessory exercises one can do to improve that deadlift?
So like just generally speaking, because like I don't know very much about these people. I don't know what their experience level is. So I would just say start with deadlifting 1 time a week. Less is more. Like you want to be able to like make progress with like the least amount of work possible. So if you don't have a lot of training experience, like there's no need for you to squat 3 or 4 times a week. There's no need for you to bench 4 times a week. And I know those sorts of training styles are super, super popular right now. So deadlift once a week, focus on technique, focus on actually knowing how to do the movement. And then I'd say for like accessories, I've never seen a big deadlifter not have a big back or a strong back. So a lot of rowing movements, a lot of posterior chain work, train your hamstrings. I'm a really, really big fan of the like a GHD or 45-degree back extension. I've given that to a lot of people that really struggle with actually just performing like a basic body weight hinge of like knowing how to hinge and keeping like your lower back in a proper position. I've given those to a lot of people that struggle with that. And they're able to build up their lower back, glutes, and hamstrings by doing those. So that's definitely one of my favorite accessories. Like I said earlier, a lot of core work, like you need to be able to stabilize your spine. So doing like a lot of oblique work, like side planks, Copenhagen planks, suitcase deadlifts, suitcase carries, things like that. Those are going to all be really, really beneficial movements for, even if you pull sumo, but conventional or sumo, those are going to be really good movements for you to do.
Cool. All right, and then we have another question from, where did he go? Michael. He just asked for deadlift training tips for master lifters. So lifters 60 and above.
Tips for the elderly.
Okay.
That could be another podcast.
Right.
Yeah. Just in general. I thought there was. I was waiting for more.
Yeah. Deadlifting tips for the elderly. Sorry, Michael.
I mean, I'd keep barbell work itself like pretty low volume. I mean, if you can do the movements without pain, then I'd say that there's nothing to worry about. I would obviously, like, I'm not a physical therapist or a chiropractor or anything like that, so I would definitely make sure that like you have the okay from somebody that's qualified. Because I don't want to like give out direct advice to somebody that actually might have like a herniated disc or something like that, or has something going on. But I would make sure that you have the okay from some kind of PT or some medical professional. But if you were somebody in that case who had that okay, and like if you were good to weight train, I would say keep volume on like barbell movements pretty low, and do a lot of like lower intensity accessory work, whether it's machine work or bands, whatever, doing those things that are going to actually, strengthen like all the, connective tissues and things like that is what I would focus on, because doing a little bit too much work, doing too much work like with a barbell movement of any kind is just going to increase that like wear and tear that we start to deal with over time. So low volume on barbell work and just hammer accessory work.
Cool. Yeah, and I really appreciate the way you're approaching these questions. And it was, one of your pet peeves, and it's one of mine also, when people do speak in absolutes. Whenever I'm researching something, because I always have like back issues, and I'll look for something, and somebody has the exact answer, and it's like,
yeah,
you don't, like, it's not fucking Pilates, right? Like,
like it's a pretty big deal. Like we're dealing with the human body here. Like you only get one. Like, so you could, that you could add that to my pet peeve. It's like, people will say things without realizing like, oh, if I have this person do this, it could permanently fuck up their body. Or, if I give somebody this diet plan, like it could fuck up their hormones. Like it could make their life terrible. And like people don't think that before they give somebody something. And yeah, it's really irritating.
Yeah, it's the worst. All right, so we'll finish up with this one as far as questions from the audience. This is from Ramon, and he asks, what are some tips for people who aspire to own a gym one day?
Oh,
you can probably chime in on this as well.
Yeah, I'd say don't do it.
that would be my number one tip as well.
Don't do it. But if you insist, I would just save as much money as possible. That's something my mom, bringing up my mom again, my mom and dad taught me early on. So I started saving money 5-6 years ago for something. I had no idea what I was going to be putting it towards, but it turned out to be a gym. And the stars aligned on everything. And I think that the next biggest thing is just have know what kind of people you want to have in your gym, because it doesn't matter what kind of equipment you have, doesn't matter how big your facility is, it doesn't, the people in the gym is what's going to make the gym either like a really, really toxic environment where it's the gym that people hear about where it's like this person is sleeping with this person, it's just all sorts of gym drama. You have 100 people under one roof, not everybody's going to be friends, but if you at least, hold true to like what kind of gym you want to have and, the kind of people you want to attract there, it's gonna be a good environment to have. It's gonna be a good gym. People are gonna enjoy being there. But, being like the person that is in charge, being the owner, like you're gonna be in control of that. Like, the kind of gym that you have, the kind of environment that it is, it's gonna be up to you. And I think Jesse can agree with that, because I think that going to CSA, it's a direct reflection of the kind of person that Jesse is, and I mean that in a good way. You know, everybody I've met at CSA is a great person. You know, one of my really, really good friends, Jeremy Avia, I met him because of Jesse at CSA. You know, and everybody else I've met there has been great and welcoming every single time I've been there. So I think, yeah, that's my answer for that.
Right on, man. Well, thanks for that compliment on the end there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get this posted. Give us a little bit more info on where we can find more about Chris Bridgeford, and we'll let you pimp yourself out a little bit, and then we'll let you go, man.
Well, yeah. So I have, you know, my Instagram, which is Bridgeford242. I think I need to change that at some point.
Agreed.
Yeah. And then my gym, we have a YouTube page now where we post all of like our coaching videos and stuff like that. We're posting weekly, like, informative content. That's so the gym, that's on the gym page, Generation Strength Gym. You know, we have a link for our YouTube in the bio. So those are the two main places that you could find me, is my Instagram page, and then the gym's Instagram page, which has the gym's YouTube page linked to it. So anything about me or any informative content that I have, you can find on those two pages.
Awesome, bud. Well, hey, dude, this was awesome. It's always great to talk to you. I'm glad you're doing so well, and you're able to kind of weather the injury and COVID storm and kind of come out, you know, smelling like a rose on the other side. And I'm really pumped up to get to see you lifting pretty soon. You know, hoping that you stay healthy and we get to see some real big numbers out of you. But dude, thank you so much for taking your time. I know it's valuable, and it was really cool of you to spend some time with us. To everybody out there who's listening and watching, if you got to go check out Chris. If you liked what you saw, like what you heard, make sure you tell somebody about it. Super Friends series will continue. Chris, again, brother, thank you so much. Good luck, and we'll talk very, very soon.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, brother. Take care.
Thank you.
Yep.